Welcome everybody, I'm James Milan and this is our Criminal Justice Reform Series. We are happy to invite into our studio today two members of a group called EPOCA, that's EPOCA, that's ex-prisoners and prisoners organizing for community advancement. And with that kind of mouthful, we're going to stick with EPOCA. We have two members, as I said, joining us today. We have Yoshada Kwaning, yes, who is the Community Outreach Coordinator for EPOCA, and we have Charles McNeill, one of the members of the group. Welcome, and thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
We really do appreciate it. So we have already said what the title of the group is, but we're interested to begin with in just what brings you guys to this particular form of work, because we'll get into in much more detail what EPOCA is up to. But love to know, first of all, if we can start with you, Yoshada, what brings you to this place?
Well, as an ex-offender, I know the challenges coming home, a single mom, ex-offender coming home, trying to find a job, trying to provide for my children, trying to find safe housing for them, and knowing the issues surrounding that. I found EPOCA and fell in love with the organization. They fight for something that I haven't heard anyone else fighting for. And
Charles?
Well, ex-offender myself, and I'm trying to give back. I love helping people. I love the program. So I just, I'm on board, trying to do the best I can, and let my past not be a backpack to hold me back, but to help other people so they won't follow my shoes, my footsteps.
And in this series, we've had a chance to talk to people who are coming at this issue of criminal justice reform from all different kinds of angles, from professors who study this phenomenon to law enforcement officers who are actually trying to institute changes to the way things happen, to other ex-offenders as well. But rarely have we had a chance, in fact, we haven't had a chance to talk to a group specifically organized from and for the people who are most impacted by what it is that we are continually talking about here. So I was struck very much it says on the EPOCA website that basically part of the group's motivation is really, you're saying to the world out there, hey, nobody is more impacted, nobody knows more about the effects of the systemic problems and challenges than we do. So we need to have a voice and we need to assert ourselves. Right. I find that to be very powerful. So tell us, we're gonna unspool this, over the course of the conversation, but what are a couple of the things, for instance, that you find that EPOCA needs to really put itself in the forefront around? What are the issues that are most compelling of all the many problems that exist in the current
quarry
system?
It would be the quarry. The quarry is a real barrier for ex-offenders.
So let's just, just to clarify, CORI, C-O-R-I, is basically it's
background history, a criminal background history is what it is.
Criminal background history.
And what happens is, employers, before they even get a chance to meet you, to see that you're a person, to see that you have a personality, you have aspirations, you have goals, you have dreams, that you've changed your life and found a different path, a more positive path to walk on, they see the box checked. Oh, they're an ex-offender. They write you off. They won't even read your resume after that. They see that box there and they just completely, no, I don't want to be bothered. Mm-hmm. This is an unsavory character. It might have been that you made one mistake in your life and now you're going to pay for the rest of your life. When it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be, I paid my debt to society via being incarcerated and working for the state while I was in there. So now my debt to society should be paid. But as human nature, we judge. We perceive things. So because of judgments and perceptions and stigmatisms and stereotypes that people hear, they don't have to even touch the situation. They don't have to be involved in anything. They can just hear it from a neighbor or hear it on the news or whatever it is. And then they make the perception of, no, those are not the type of people that I want to deal with, right? And then it stops them from getting housing as well. Because landlords are saying, oh, you're a troublemaker. You're unsavory. I don't want you in my place. You're going to bring trouble here.
So I think that going back years, EPOCA did kind of do its best to make some changes in the Corey situation, and there has been some successes, I think, right?
Yes.
Such that I think now employers and landowners, landlords, excuse me, don't see that box initially, right?
Right. Well, landlords wouldn't have it on their applications for housing. I'll tell you how they gain your Corey after, and it's a loophole that we missed, and we're trying to see if we can, fix
Close that up.
Yeah, because it's horrible. We did get ban the box law put into place for Massachusetts. 4 years now it's been in place. So if an employer, a company, organization, whoever, if they have that box, that question with the box on it, have you ever been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor in the last 10 years, 7 years, whatever it is, if they have that there, that's a $1,500 fine. And they will be fined. And then it's like, I think, $550 for every day that they do not change that on their application.
Great.
So we've been trying to get that word around.
That seems an effective
It is. It helps.
disincentive for them. Right?
It should be, right? So, I mean, what that does for the ex-offender and as a whole is it makes them less nervous and apprehensive and on the defense when they go in for an interview. They can breathe a little bit more, They can be themselves and show their real personality and who they are and what they're about and what they hope to bring to the table of the place they're applying for a job.
And then that background check, the employer can make that check after they've made a conditional offer of employment, I think it is?
Yes. Okay. And then, but then that's the bad side of it. If you don't disclose to them and then they find out, they have legal grounds to fire you from the job immediately.
I see.
But if you do disclose and they find it and they say, well, can we talk about it? Now you have some breathing room to negotiate keeping the job. But as far as landlords are concerned, how they're getting your Corey, because it's against the law actually for them to ask you for a Corey, right? And if someone should ask another person, even a job, say, I need your Corey, it's not your responsibility to do so. It's their responsibility. Make them pay for it. Don't do it yourself. The landlords are getting it through the credit checks, and that's the loophole that we missed. They will do a credit check and it will come up. Your Corey will automatically come up with it.
So it sounds then like you would say, though, in the employment context, that you would say, hey, if you're an ex-offender and you're going into one of these interviews, you want to get out in front of this. You want to talk about it in that situation rather than waiting to potentially get an offer and then the employer
feel the
goes
person
and
out.
finds
You
that.
can always. I'm sorry for over talking.
No,
you
that's
can
fine.
always fill someone out to see if they're receptive or not. So I would feel the person out first to see, are they receptive? As the conversation goes on in your interview, you feel them out to see, are they relaxed enough that you can talk? Are they open-minded? Not even relaxed, wrong wording. Are they open-minded enough that you can talk to them and discuss what happened?
So you're mentioning Corey as one of the first things that is of import for EPOCA and a huge barrier, as you said. That places us firmly in the coming out of prison and re-entry phase. We know through this series and through our investigations that there are issues with the system around who gets pulled into it initially, bail reform, and so many other things in terms of how you get into the system. Then changes that also need to happen during incarceration that can help people. But in this case, we're talking about, at least with Corey and other re-entry conditions, that we're talking about that now getting back into society. Do you guys, does EPOCA as an organization, do you guys feel individually that that's really the place as prisoners come, as ex-offenders come out of prison, having paid their debt to society and re-entering the wider society? Do you feel like that's really the
place where it begins?
That phase, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just the phase that really needs to be attended to.
It does. I mean, they have some reentry services. I'm sorry, did you want to?
Well, I was just going to say that it's not that many programs in the prison system right now. A lot of them lost funding. So you're having people that's going to the prison system and they get moved around. So they're not getting rehabilitated, they're getting pushed around. So some of them getting their time, some of them not learning lessons. So when they do come home, they just go right back to the same situation they came from. But if you're having a program, like we can go and talk to these people, help them out inside and let them know it's a better chance, so they can actually relax in there and say, you know what, when I get out, I can look forward to this. Study looking forward to starting over with nothing. And so that's the problem. It's a lot of, they don't have funding for, it used to be colleges and different things. They don't have that no more. And it's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of people getting pushed around. Sometimes it get overcrowded, so people getting pushed out without learning a lesson. And they right back. And that's how you get repeat offenders, because they coming back.
So you're saying that funding cuts and then also just kind of shifting around of prison populations means that people just don't have access, if there are programs, they don't even have access to programs that can effectively help them better prepare themselves for when they come out.
And this is where the recidivism starts. So I'll give you like a scenario. I get out of prison. I've been locked up for 5-6 years, maybe not even that long, maybe two to 3 years. I get out, but before I got out, no one came to speak to me to tell me what resources are there for me. I'm lost when I get out. I have no place to go, I have no money, I have no resources, no family. What am I supposed to do? No identification.
And that's a big barrier, not having an ID.
That's another big barrier as well, not having an ID. You can get arrested for not having an ID. Mm-hmm. So I have nothing at all but the clothes on my back, and I hit the streets. But I want to stay out of trouble. I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to commit a crime. I don't want to use drugs. I've learned my lesson, and I'm ready to be a productive part of society. But 3 months in, I'm not able to get a job. I'm not able to get safe housing. I haven't been able to get money enough to get my ID even, to feel like a person. I'm going to the Mustard Seed in Worcester, or I'm going to different places just to get food and to get secondhand clothing, just to keep above. What am I supposed to do? I become depressed, frustrated, angry, aggravated. And what do? Human nature. Go back to what's comfortable. Go back to what I know. And that's where recidivism begins. That's when they reoffend and get arrested again. So most of the numbers that we have for the prison system of how many prisons we have, they're put down as new offenders. They're not new offenders. I would bet $1 to a dime that 3/4 of offenders are re-offenders. Mm-hmm. There are even some stories that I can tell you I've heard of where people say, I'm just tired of being homeless and sleeping on the street.
I'd rather go to jail.
And I'd rather go to jail because I get 3 hots in a cot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you describe is really kind of cuts right to the heart of what is so dysfunctional about this system, because we all subscribe to this idea, or maybe it's a myth, that we can send somebody to prison and he or she can emerge in the way that you just said, having felt like they paid their dues, but also feeling like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to walk the straight and narrow. I want to be productive. I want to do all those things. And so that's the best case scenario as we lay it out for ourselves, right? And then you let that person out, and if you don't provide any support or help after that, then you are undercutting everything that has happened. That worked
the lesson
to get
that was supposed to be learned, right? So then what are they supposed to do? They just go back to what they know. I mean, survival is the key thing, right? If you don't have your basic needs, food, water, clothing, a domicile, a shelter, roof over your head, then you become a different person. You become animalistic. You go back to your core and you think of how can I survive? And that's to rob, steal, do whatever on the streets. But your nature is saying no, but you have no choice because your stomach is growling. Your back hurts, your feet hurt from standing and walking all day or sleeping on concrete. Nobody wants to do that. Also, for those who haven't made up their mind to change their life for a more positive way, if we're inside the jail, speaking to them on a weekly basis, holding groups with them, like Houses of Healing, which we are now doing at EPOCA, which is a behavioral modification program. If we're there doing that with them on a weekly basis, face to face, to say, look, it can be done. You can do this. Why won't you? We can get to the core issues that stop them from changing.
And a lot of people being put on medications without an ending.
Right.
You put on the medications for the rest of your life. I don't think that's right. I think a medication is supposed to be something to help you, and it shouldn't be some long-term, like I need this for the rest of my life, this medication. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, when you get on the medication, some people just, you can see the difference. And they don't want help. They just want to check the medication, and it's uncomfortable.
A lot of them are getting over-medicated or misdiagnosed as well in the prison system because the doctors that are coming there are overworked, and they're just there because I have to be here. And they don't have the time frame or the atmosphere to sit and say exactly, talk and have that conversation to get to the underlying problems, to see which medication will work for you, what cocktail will work for you. And then the other problem is they're not setting up mental health before they leave the jails. They're not giving them the medication before they leave the jails, because once they start the medication and they have to stop, it throws them off key.
Right now they just started with the medications. But if you don't have an ID, you're not getting your medication.
Yeah, so I mean, what's the sense?
And you can't use the jail ID anymore to get your medication.
You need a state ID.
So you need, that should be a something that you have enough funding to hold people. You should make sure when they go home, you want to make sure they don't come back. So I'm going to help you get the things you need. So EPOCA, you need an ID. You need these things, and that should be a booklet to give these people, a pamphlet, so when you get home you have these things. And if we don't give them to you, you can go get them from this place, and that's not happening right now.
Mm-hmm. We do have the Blue Book. We are listed in the Blue Book, the resources book, the little Blue Book.
Tell me what that is.
There is a resource book from Massachusetts, and it tells you all the different places you can go for resources for homeless shelters, for food pantries, for different services.
Not just this is not a Blue Book that's handed to ex-offenders. This is a Blue Book that's available for everybody needing such service.
And it should be part of the system.
It should be a part of their packet when they come into the system and when they leave the system, because it tells them everything they need to know of where to go to ask for help. Now, we actually don't have the funds to do a lot of things, but we have the connections where we make referrals. Like Catholic Charities is one of my biggest referrals for IDs. But
the prison system is big.
Right,
it's a big money maker. They can make the IDs too.
About that too. The AISS, which is in the Sheriff's Department, they are the ones that we're looking and asking for help with the funding to do that. Can we send our clients to you to get an ID, to get help for an ID? It's hard though, because they don't have the funding either, is what we're hearing. So as soon as the government decides to release the funding and stop holding the money for unnecessary things and give it to things that are needed, then maybe we can see some change going on.
So funding is a huge issue, and obviously access, dealing with the core issue as you already outlined, access to identification. We've identified a few of the things, but I want to get back to something you were saying just a couple of minutes ago, and that is you were saying if we can get in to if we can get to these folks while they're still inside and let them know that these resources are available to them and give them some preparation for how to successfully move out of the system. All the way that you talked about that made me think, oh, okay, but you can't.
Right, we
You're
have a
saying
barrier.
If we could,
so because
but
we
something
can't get
is
the clearance.
stopping you. So what is
we
that?
We can't get the clearance because most of us at the job have past histories, criminal histories. We have a query.
Well, we're working on that because they do have people that with queries and been in there, so we're trying to get that. But it's just right now they got 23-hour lockup in just about every jail. So if we was to be there, I know people would come out their cell just to see what's going on. Because if you're sitting in your cell 24 hours, 23 hours a day, there's nothing to learn in that cell. You know, it's different. It's
All right, and you would like some stimulation,
Yeah.
you know, of any sort, I would think, in
Yes,
that
yes,
situation.
yes.
I'm curious, I guess, in a sense, it doesn't, I'm trying to see the sense in them saying, well, because you have a record or because you've got a query, we can't let you back in to
Right.
the prison to
Right.
talk to other prisoners. Who better?
To do
I
so.
would think so. I would
Right.
think to
It's just
talk
like-
The
to.
change, they don't want to accept that change because that change would mean less money, less prisoners. Like if we can help them, they welcome for them to come back. I've been one of those guys, and I have a long record, and but I learned my lesson. So I don't want to come back. So my message is to the others: we can do this, and we're doing it right now, and we're trying our best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm struck also by the name of EPOCA is ex-prisoners and prisoners. So does that mean that that the group does include prisoners, people who are currently serving sentences?
Right. So they write to us, we write to them. You know, we send them the newsletters. We encourage them to speak about us to others inside the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them there is a place they can go where they can feel non-judgment, where they can come and talk about their experiences and see what we can do to help them. We also help the families of the prisoners. So in that retrospect, the families also will go and say, you know, you got a son in jail? Well, these people helped me with my son. You should go and speak to these people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that the word gets around. So we help the families, we help the whole unit as a whole, because everyone is affected by it when someone goes to jail.
Like just one of my things, I wish we could do this too, because there's a lot of families that don't have transportation to visit family members in jail. I would love to help them with that, because like that's showing that we only not talking a lot, but we doing a lot. Like we talk about cleaning up neighborhoods that she tried before, and she was stopped on it. Like I'm bringing it to the board, but like why wouldn't you want us to clean up a neighborhood, to help clean up our neighborhood, the same neighborhood we're working out of? And we got people right in front of our neighborhood drinking and doing bad things, but we just got to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we do try and help the community as much as possible. We have in the past, we do family days, we do special groups, and I run the women's group, which is called Women's Rising. It's on every other Tuesday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. and it's a women's empowerment. We're about to open up another focus group called Women on the Outside, because there are issues with women in jail now more than men. First off, if you're arrested in Worcester, you should go into a Worcester prison. But they don't want to open up the part of the jail and fix it for the women, is what I'm hearing. I'm not for sure if it's correct, but this is what I heard. So they're moving them to different parts of the state. Chicopee, Ludlow.
We have heard this
Framingham.
in talking to
Right.
sheriffs and others.
It's detrimental to the family more than it is to the prisoner, because most of these women have children. Some of their children might be under DCF's care. And what if she's learned her lesson and she needs to get her kids back?
And it could be
But if she can't visit with them, if she can't visit with them, that severs the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then DCF and the state can move in to take this child and have this child given to another family to be adopted. And now you've cut, and that's another detrimental issue for the child, because now you're giving this child other issues.
Right, you're taking stability or the chance for
Stability away. Not to mention you're taking this child's family history away, because more than likely when they put them in foster care or they put them into an adoptive family, it's not with the same race, culture, religion, ideals, nothing. So now you're stripping this child of his history, his family history, and it's not fair. But it's not,
and therefore a part of his identity as well.
Right, his identity as well. So then you're putting strain on the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the caretakers, to try and find a way to keep that connection with the child and the parent. the father or the mother.
Yeah, and Charles, you had already mentioned that transportation for family members to visit those in prison is already
Right.
a big
Right.
issue.
And
and
you can have a
challenge.
lady trying to steal milk for her baby, get arrested and be put in Chicopee. She didn't have money for milk, so how she gonna get back from Chicopee to get to where she belonged? So they'll let you go out there and like, I know people that actually had to commit a crime just to get back home from just getting out of jail, knowing they don't want to commit a crime. But if you're in Chicopee, that's far from Worcester, that's far from a lot of places. And like they have one in Framingham, they can put the women there and take care of it. But right now, it's just like a lot of funders a lot of things are not being taken care of and paid more attention to until it blows up. So we're trying
conditions
to
as
bring
well.
it to the board right now that this is what we need help with. Simple things.
Yeah.
You want to give us some rands, we can get some drivers, we go pick the people up ourselves.
Right.
And I just want to clarify, because I don't think we said it out loud, that you guys have made reference to different programs already that EPOCA is involved in, and also to, as you said, cleaning up the neighborhood or wanting to do so. EPOCA is based in Worcester.
Yes, we are. We're in South Main.
Okay, and is it dealing mostly with a Worcester-based population, or is EPOCA?
No, we are collaborating with an organization in Pittsburgh to go out there to do the Corey workshops. So now we found that we can do the Corys, get your Corey, your actual Corey with your history on it, offline, instead of doing it paper, which takes 3 to 4 or 5 months. We can get it within 2 to 3 hours, which is like the best thing, because now we can work faster to get it sealed, and then we'll fill out the paperwork with you and have it pushed off to whatever court it is that needs to go to have it sealed, and then we'll appear with you in court to appeal to the judge the reasons why you need your Corey closed, and to help you through
What does that
process.
mean to seal a Corey?
It means that it'll be taken off your record. It'll be in the archives. It will be archived, basically, that's what it means. So that an employer, a landlord, anyone who's looking will not be able to see it unless they're doing an
Hold your past against you.
right, unless they're doing an extensive check on you.
And what kinds of criteria do you have to follow or fulfill in order to get your Corey sealed? Does it have to be a certain kind of?
You just have to ask.
You just have to ask.
You have to ask, and you have to make sure that the crimes that you want to be sealed have been, as a time limit. It can't be something that just happened yesterday or
Right.
last year.
So as it stands, right. So as it stands right now, felonies are 10 years. So, but the thing about that is the catch-22, because it's 10 years in order to, if I got this felony 10 years ago, right? Now I can seal it today, but if I got a felony within those 10 years, I have to wait till my most current one is 10 years old, so I can seal all of them. Misdemeanors are 5 years, and we're trying to get it cut down from 5 years to 3, and felonies from 10 years to 7 years. This is a part of our Criminal Reform Act and a part of the CSJ that we have now. We're waiting for them to sign off on to give us what we want.
Do you know whether that is such provisions are part of the current legislation that's going through the State House?
Yeah, that's the
That's what you're talking
CSJ
about,
bill,
the CSJ.
and yes, and the Corey Reform Act
Okay, I thought
bill.
that's what you were
Yeah,
referring
that's a
to.
part of it. That is a part of it. It has some juvie stuff in there. It has a bunch. It's like 120 something pages long, and we're trying to get that passed. We know they're not going to give us everything, but as long as they give us the key things, the things that will make the most change for the ex-offender population, we'll be happy with that.
Okay, and just to make sure that I'm clear about what you guys were just saying, regarding Corey, it is possible to get that sealed and therefore not be held against you, as you were saying, Charles,
Yeah.
not have your past held against you, if right now, if 10 years have elapsed since a felony was committed, or if 5 years have elapsed since a misdemeanor was committed.
Right.
And then you're hoping to bring that down to 7 for a felony, 3 for a misdemeanor.
Right. Quaffs, dismissals, they come off automatically. Another problem is
What's quaff?
a quaff would be, okay, you know the people who are doing the scams with the checks and things of that nature. All right, so say you got caught in one of those scams, right? And you got a criminal charge behind it. They could turn that into a quaff because you unwillingly participated in a crime.
Okay.
They can turn that into a quaff.
And a quaff is a form of kind of expunging it from your record.
Right. They'll expunge that immediately. Dismissals will be taken off immediately. They're supposed to. But there's a problem with that in the linkage, because it's supposed to be taken off right away, but sometimes they'll lag, so you have to stay on them. So we're complaining about that as well. We want the system to work faster because people's lives are on hold. I'm waiting for you to take that off so I can get this job. I'm waiting for you to take that off so I can move on with my life and become more productive. And I can't until you do your job. So we're asking them to step forward, step up, and do your job. Make the system faster than what it is so that people can get back to being productive.
Right, because people's lives are literally on hold.
On hold, yeah.
Right, and because a lot of times when you get arrested, as soon as you get arrested, you feel sorry. But you still gotta go through the process of going to court, meeting the people that you hurt, doing whatever you had to do. But a lot of people learn them lessons during that process. But they shouldn't have to have that over them like a black cloud. Like for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to deal with this. If you change, you change. Like your demeanor need to carry this. But just like my demeanor doesn't show that I used to do the things I used to do. But if somebody can check my record, they can say, you know what, he's a bad guy. I can't deal with him. But if I get to meet you and I get to talk to you, I'm not a bad guy.
That is a fantastic point, really, and I just want to pursue it a little bit more. You started off by saying, hey, when you get arrested, a lot of the times you feel sorry. Yeah. And what I hear you saying from what you said after that is, it's not sorry that you were arrested, it's sorry for what you did.
Committed the crime, right.
And you're telling us from the inside, because you're describing your own experience as well, to say, hey, lots of people who end up in prison, this is the cycle they go through. They really do feel bad about what it was they did, not just being
sometimes
caught.
It's circumstance, you know. I know there's a girl, she's been gone for a while now. I write to her weekly, right? So she has 6 kids, and she couldn't find a job that could support her and her 6 kids, and social services was not giving her enough money to support her and her 6 kids, and she wanted more out of life, but she went about it the wrong way because of the situation, the pressure, and she robbed somebody because she didn't have food for her kids, and she ended up doing 5 years. It's a situational thing.
Right.
It's not that she was a bad person. It's not that she wanted to do it. It's something that she felt like she had to do because of the pressure. The baby is crying, no milk, no Pampers, landlord kicking me outside the door. Those things build up.
Yeah.
And some people don't have a mother and father. I'm grateful to have a mother and a father, because no matter what I did, they always had my back. If they wasn't there, like when I was in the gang, it was loyalty on the streets. But when I went to jail, I have not seen none of them guys, unless they went to jail with me. But none of them visited, none of them put money in my books. It was my mother and my father, who I'm taking care of them now, looking out for them right now, but they always looked out for me. And with the grace of God that I'm here on this team, like today I called, and she was like, let's do this, and I'm here. And that's why I said thank you in the beginning, and thank you again. But I'm part of the streets, it's in me, but at the same time, I don't wear it as a badge of honor to hurt. I'm trying to help, and I'm right there with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all just want to give a chance, give hope and give a chance to someone who feels like they've lost all and everything, like they can't become someone different, someone more positive, someone better than they are today. It can be done. It's work. It's not easy work either, but it can be done. But the barriers need to come down in order for it to be done. Because some people don't have the resources, some people just don't have the fight in them to say, I'm just gonna keep fighting until I get it done. No, they give up because they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But darkness always has to come into light, and we tell them that.
We are the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
But we want to guide you through that
A lot of people don't have support either, and that's another problem with the support system. I often, when I go to the other agencies and speak to them, I often talk about the circle of care. So the circle of care is very easy. It's an old human services model of being able to call you and say, hey, I know you know me, I got a client who I think will fit perfect with you. and your personality. I think you'll be able to help them a lot. Can I refer them to you? Sure, send them over. Circle of care. So now we have a relationship that we can make a triangle of support for this client and spread it out and make a circle of support within the community for this client and their family. And it's needed, it's so needed. Everyone is so on, they need to be seen. They need to be in the limelight. They need their name flashing. No, you don't need to have that. You need to come together and form a bond with the other organizations in your area in order to help make a change in your community for the better. That's the only way that things are gonna get better. People are so self-centered now. Stop being self-centered and selfish and become more open and giving and willing. And then things can change.
Is hope, because we're gonna walk you through things. You're not gonna come and sit in the office and not get what you need to be done. Always gonna have a conversation, and from that conversation, we're gonna know what you need, and we're gonna try to fix it. But we still need help to be fixing things, because we just going on passion right now and wanting to do better for people. Like today, I helped somebody to ask me for money, but it was like a blessing because I had to lead them to a job. I didn't have to, but a job. Charlie, you need to work? No, but he does. And I was grateful to do that. And that's just because I'm in the right path. I'm doing what I need to be doing right now.
And you created that little circle right there, you know, connecting one, or a triangle.
And
at least
whoever I meet,
connecting
I'm
the
trying
one
to,
with the other.
whoever I meet, I represent myself properly, so that I might need them. Like you might need that resource when I'm talking to you. And you say, you know what, I know this guy. I met this guy, and sometimes I dress funny, but at the same time, that's me. And I get to bring people to say, you know what, I met this guy. It might be for one day, but I might send somebody to you that you can help, or they can help you. And that's what I appreciate about the program.
I like that. That's what we like to try to make connections with other organizations and people. We go to a lot of events and things of that nature. We do the Corey workshops, and in the workshop we talk about the laws that we are trying to get changed, the laws that are in place at this time. We talk about the lobbying that we do at the Senate House. We offer our services to the participants of the organization, you know. We go to the halfway houses, we go to the rehab houses, we go to whoever calls and says we need that service. We're there. Open door policy. People don't need an appointment. A lot of people think they need an appointment. You don't need an appointment. Walk in any day. EPOCA's doors are open. We're here. We have, like I was saying, the Houses of Healing, which is a program modification, behavioral modification tool that was originated in the jails. It has a book and everything. You should read through it. You'll like it.
Houses of Healing.
Houses of Healing. So we're doing that, and what that's going to do, that program, anger management, AVP, we're doing AVP as well.
What's AVP?
Alternative to Violence program. It's run by the Mormons. So all those type of programs will help the ex-offenders when they come out as well, because we'll be running, we're being trained for them, and then we'll be running the actual groups, and that will give them a year off their back number. The back number would be like, say someone gets a sentence of 5 to 10 years, right? So we know that they'll do probation or parole for at least 5 to 6 years of that 10. But if they do these programs with us, they'll get a year off. So that shortens their time of probation or parole.
And a certificate, which
And
is
a
a badge of
certificate, yes.
honor.
Badge of honor.
Yes, to have, you know, I did this. And then when you might go in there and to a job and say, and be able to say, you know, I did EPOCA. It's like having a OSHA 10 card. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to fix my life, and they're willing to give you a
Right,
chance.
this is, here's some proof, right?
We have
Here's some-
clothing sometimes that we have for interviews and things of that. We'll sit down with them, we'll help them to fix their resumes. We'll try our best to coach them as much as possible on the interview process and how to behave, act, and what to say. You know, we try our best to do whatever it is needed to do.
You're trying to provide all the support and
Right.
training, et cetera, that is missing from the
Elsewhere.
wider society,
So
right? And
looking forward with EPOCA, we are now venturing out for EPOCA House. So EPOCA House is going to be a 18 to 24 month transitional housing program with wraparound services on site. So there's no need for you to have to meander out to try and find things and become frustrated. We have it here. And if we don't have it here, we have the connections for referral, and we'll escort you there. No problem. So I'm thinking that this will nip it in the bud, and this is the reason why I'm saying we need to be in the jail, because if we're in the jail and we're there on a weekly basis, speaking, talking to everyone, hey, I want to know, can I get into your house? Do you have room? Well, we'll sit down and we'll start a conversation. We'll start a rapport with you so I can see where you are. Are you a recovering addict? Are you willing to stay clean and sober? Because it's a clean and sober house. You know, you give them all the rigs about what's going to go on. And if they still, at the end, want to come, well, such and such will be here to pick you up upon your release, and you'll be escorted straight into the house. That way, we don't have to stress out or worry about you meeting up with a friend, because misery loves company. And a friend will say, hey, I got this bag, you want to go? I haven't seen you in a while, let's celebrate, you know? So there's no issue with that, because you go straight into the house. And once you get into the house, you're protected.
And you'll see a lot of people that are family members. You're not just a criminal. You have family to take. You got people that love you. And some people, when they don't get help, the family say, well, he's back to his old ways. But if we have a place to help these people, where it's not, because right now to get in certain programs, you have to be high to get in these programs. And that's why would you tell them, you need to be high. I can't let you come in here sober.
And I might get in trouble.
I just don't understand that.
I might get in trouble, but I'm going to put SMOC right there, and I am going to say something about them. Worcester
What's SMOC?
It's the Queen Street shelter, and it's a female and male shelter for
It's
singles.
called a WET program.
WET, yeah, and it's run by Spectrum. But my issue with these people, Worcester is a gateway city. It has become a gateway city. So we see people coming in from everywhere looking to find a place, right? There's nothing here for you. There are no resources. There's nothing. You know, try as we may, we're trying to get those started, but there's nothing here. So where do they end up at? Going to the shelter, but they can't get into the shelter because they don't have a 2-year history of living in Worcester. And I ask these people all the time, what is the definition of homeless? It means to be without domicile, to be without a structure. That means I'm homeless all over the world. That means I have no history anywhere. So how can I give it to you? I'm homeless, I'm homeless.
It should be a liability.
Right. How can you prove a 2-year history of living in an area if you have no domicile?
If I've been living in the tent city for 2 years, how can I give you that? I'm gonna give you the address to where the tent city is? No. You know, it's just not fathomable. So how can we help them? There are only one shelter in Worcester. We need more shelters. We need something to open up to give these people new life, to get off the street. There's an epidemic going on, not just the opioid epidemic, the homeless epidemic is going on. More and more people are becoming homeless. More and more people are coming here because they feel like Worcester has it, I can get help there, and they come, and then they can't get help, and then they're stuck here, and now we have another homeless body on the street, meandering. So.
Charles,
You look like you wanted to say something earlier.
Because I was just thinking about the shelter.
And it's a horrible shelter.
Yeah, how somebody can be in the shelter and get kicked out the shelter for just being themselves or just not having the right proper help or the right medication, and I think that's wrong. But you need a 2-year thing to say, I've been here for 2 years. You can't get if you're homeless. But there's certain things they can get, like I was on welfare for 2 years in Worcester. They won't accept that.
No, they won't.
That should be something you accept. That proves that person. I was in jail. They should accept those things. They want you to get up from a landlord or something. I don't have a landlord.
Or have a friend write a letter or something. People don't want to get involved.
Yes.
They already have the stigmatism attached to it. They don't want to get involved. So we try to assist with that to get them into shelters. A few times we had to pay for hotels or whatever to help people to just get them a couple of hours of rest. You know what I mean? So they can be rejuvenated to get back out there on the street, to be beat up some more by the streets. But it's like the most important thing in the world to have a place to lay your head and be safe and feel calm and at peace. You can think straight. You can, make right judgments. You're not off.
We got simple little issues too. Like you see homeless people, they don't have a place when they leave, they got to carry luggage with them. So now you know that's a homeless person. It should be like they can't leave their luggage nowhere. They should have the place where they can just put their luggage up and they can walk freely, so they won't be judged. But if you see a person with 4 bags and a young lady with 6 bags and they walking up and down, they lose ambition. They don't have that in them. No hope right now.
Too tired.
They got to carry these things around with them, and that's not good.
Besides
Like you get a little bin at the shelter to put your things and your belongings.
That's safe, that you know that they'll be
Yeah,
safe.
it's not
and
safe.
It's not safe because somebody else can say, you know what, I got a place to stay. Can you open this up? I need to get my stuff. So meanwhile, as they get their stuff, they collecting valuables from other people, which probably all the thing that person got, a good pair of jeans. So now this jeans is missing. But the backpack thing is a big issue for me because I see people.
We have a lot of people come there saying that to us, and we try to help them to acquire what it is they lost. Underwear, socks, like basics. These are basic things, and it makes the person feel whole. Imagine if
it's all the stuff that those of us who are lucky enough just take for granted.
And they're not all ex-offenders. Some of them have mental health issues. Some of them are veterans. It's not. Some of them do have drug abuse in their history, but believe me, it comes from some underlying issue that happened from a very young age. And they just haven't been treated properly, so they don't know how to cope with it. They don't have coping skills.
I am struck by a couple of things that you guys said in combination. One was you're describing EPOCA House, which is not yet in existence, but there is the hope and the plan to get something like that going. And secondly, Charles, what you said earlier, which is that EPOCA is run on passion. So I'm wondering, clearly you guys are impassioned, and I'm sure the other people who are involved in EPOCA and with EPOCA are as well. That unfortunately does not buy a building.
No.
So how is it that you guys are funded?
Well, we write grants, we do fundraisers, we send out our flyers and our newsletters, and we ask for people to please donate. We also have a Facebook page where you can click on there and donate some money as well. We also have a thing with Amazon Smile. We have Twitter. We have LinkedIn. We have a few different websites that you can go on if you want to donate anything at all.
Right.
We will accept it.
But clearly the work of EPOCA is dependent on
donations
and grants.
We're not
a great boss,
government.
Kevin. This guy's awesome.
Yeah, Kevin
He has the aura.
Awesome guy.
He just draws things to him, and it's like me. I just feel comfortable. I feel like the plans that she's talking about the house, I already know it's going to come because this is the beginning. So as long as we keep stepping forward and keep trying to do the right thing, it's going to be something that's going to be it's going to be here. I don't think there's going to be something we just talking about. It's going to be soon. I think it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
We're getting ready to do the focus group for the women on the outside to get the data to see what's most needed, what the women are saying most needed to help them in and outside of the prison system. We have Worcester House of Corrections meeting that we already do, and that's specifically geared for the men and what's going on with them, the conditions there, the water, and all that type of thing that's going on with them. We have been writing letters and asking for support to the senators, to the state reps, and we encourage everyone to please call your state rep and ask that this be brought forth, the CSJ and the Quarry Reform Act bill. We are asking, please call and tell them you support that. Once you do that, it goes in, it's tallied, and it shows that the need is there, the want is there, and the people are behind us on what we're asking for. So we really need that support. what can I say? We do a lot of things, and sometimes we get stumped because of funding, but we find a way. We find a way. We always find a way. We are now constructing a fundraiser for maybe March or April, the end of March, beginning of April. We're trying to make sure that the weather is good because New England. But that fundraiser will go towards something good, something to help the persons that come in to our office, not just ex-offenders, but homeless, mothers with children. We have all of them. We did, in collaboration with Straight Ahead Ministries and Ladies of the Hills, which is a writing club. At the end of summer, we did backpacks for them. We gave out, in a collaboration, we gave out 380 backpacks filled with pencils, paper, pens, whatever they need to start from ages pre-K up to college. We also fed that day 400 plus people as well. I know because I was there counting because I was the cook. So after that event, we did the Gobbler, which nobody liked my name, but I loved it. So I was like, the Gobbler. Gobble, gobble. We did that for the homeless, and we did get a lot of donations. Thank you to everyone who helped out on that project. My Choice helped out on that project. Howard, Miss D, Miss Deb over there. We were able to get 200 coats for the homeless. We had Warmer Winters, was an awesome program in Leominster that helped us to have hand-knitted hats, mittens, scarves, and sweaters for the homeless as well. And then we had Walmart and Sam's Club help us out with a donation of food. And we were able to cook for them and serve to them after Thanksgiving. For Christmas, we gave out 400 plus children. We serviced 400 plus children, so no child would go without a toy for Christmas, and we were able to give them 3 toys apiece. So I was very happy with that, and we thank you to the Marines from Toys for Tots. They were awesome with helping us with that project.
I mean, clearly that is quite a litany of showing exactly what the combination of passion on your part and generosity on others' parts can do.
But we need more.
But obviously there's so much work to be done.
A lot
I
of
understand
work.
that. Let me ask you, as we wrap up the conversation, let me ask you, as the individuals that you are, as well as members of EPOCA, it's clear what you are doing in terms of advocacy and trying to influence and affect policy and making the very important changes. I'm wondering, though, what you would can say, as rules or suggestions or advice or whatever to a young person not yet pulled into this system but or at risk of that, or somebody who is inside at the moment, or somebody who is just coming out. You take your pick, but what are the things that you feel would be the most important message to give to somebody in one or more of those positions?
You want to take the young person?
I take the young person because I would want them to be in my shoes, the things I did when I was young. So I would like to talk to them and let them know that it's a better way right now, like staying in school, getting your education, paying attention, and respecting your parents, because sometimes somebody's going to have to go and you can be left alone. And there's a lot of people in the shelter that's left alone without parents and no guidance. So we're here to guide, and I'm trying to let you know my record and my past is something that you don't want, because I'm 50. I should be on vacation, study working 7 to 7s. But if I would have learned back then, I would be on vacation. I didn't listen to my parents when I was a young person. So right now I'm doing back-breaking work. I'm doing this, what I love to do, but at the same time, so I would love to tell them, like, when you're my age, you shouldn't have to work. You should be retiring or get ready to retire or do something that you want to do. Study just living from paycheck to paycheck.
Right. For those who are on the inside and getting ready to re-enter back into society, know that what you did in the past is the past. A clean slate is here now. Once you walk out of the doors of that prison or jail, you have a clean slate. Make every day count. Someone is watching you, some child, some friend, neighbor, cousin, uncle, whatever it is. They're watching you. Be a role model to them. Show someone that they can do better by doing better yourself. Come to EPOCA. We're here to help.
Well, I can't add any more than that or say it any better. So I will just thank the two of you for being here today, sharing your experiences, your wisdom, and it is that, as well as, you know, the frustration I can tell in terms of the challenges that are in
the
front of you.
bureaucracy and red tape.
and wish you and EPOCA the best in what is, I know, a long road ahead. But wow, you're both very impressive. If you can be here, so can many others, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
That's a message that's worth reminding people of.
Yes.
So, Charles McNeill, thank you very much. Yoshada Kwaning, thank you also
Thank you.
much for being here. My name is James Milan. This has been the latest episode of the Criminal Justice Reform Series. An important conversation. We're grateful. We hope you are. Take care. We'll see you next time.